All right, that should be live soon. It's live.
Oh no, people ask questions now, but I already made the doc. I'll just put those for next week. I'm always amazed when
It's live, just so you know.
yeah, when I stream from my PC using Streamlabs, it takes like a minute or two for it to pop up on a Twitch app, but when I stream from the PS4, it's almost like instant.
Yeah, I think it has to do with just the way it works, like as it goes through, and like with the integration that PlayStation has with Twitch.
Yeah.
All right. Uh, cool. All right, that's there. That's there. That's there. All right, you ready to roll?
Yep.
DDG episode 24. The math still doesn't work in my head, but I think we're technically 6 months old.
That is what the math would say. Yes, we're 6 months.
Yeah, we've done six. We've done 6 times 4.
Yes.
Now we're like still only like 5.5 months old. But
Yeah, I mean, if you want to include the time preparing for this,
yeah,
we can probably add another like couple weeks to that and
so
hit more.
and then like in my mind too, the thing I was like, well, wait, like 52 weeks in a year, 26 episodes is halfway. This is 24.
Yeah.
But anyways, we are Digital Days Gaming. We have been around for 23 other episodes, and you guys still seem to like listening to us. So we're gonna kind of go forward a little bit more. We're a weekly podcast that covers all the spectrums of gaming, multi-platform, multifunctional, talking about as many things as we can to inform you guys as well. So we stream the show weekly on Twitch, twitch.tv/Digital Days Gaming, where you can watch and interact with us. Typically on Sundays or Monday nights, just depending on all the craziness that's going on with COVID and life and all that other stuff. But my name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swick.
How is it going? How are you surviving?
I'm doing all right. I'm still working, so I'm not losing all my sanity yet. So like I said, if you guys can share the show in any way, that would be appreciated. You guys are already listening, so thank you so much for taking the time to listen. We hope that we are providing you with some form of entertainment to help you get through your day, whether that's if you're still commuting some way or some form, or now if your commute consists of your bedroom to your desk.
I listen to podcasts when I shower now. That is the only time I get to listen to podcasts now.
But if you could also just share your show share our show and yours if you have one, but share ours on social media feeds and would be greatly appreciated. Just Twitter, Facebook. If people are saying, hey, I'm bored, I need something to do, like you could just kind of just drop our link in there. That's great. I've seen a lot of that on Facebook. So the next time that you see that thing that says I spy something red in your photo feed, just put a picture of Digital Days Gaming on a red image, and we'd appreciate it. Because that's all I keep seeing on Facebook is copy and paste this because I'm bored. So, but any way that you guys can support us, youtube.com/Digital Days Gaming, where we are posting a lot of our live stream replays along with this show. Michael's been doing a really good job of that since he doesn't have anything else to do. And then you can follow us on the social medias at Digital Days Pod on Twitter. Just search on Facebook Digital Days Gaming, and you'll see the page and the group. If you could like the page and join the group, that'd be great. And then we also have Discord. If you need a Discord invite, just reach out to us through social media, and we will get you a Discord invite. So enough of the rigmarole. We're going to go right into our really bland news week.
It's kind of bland. There's not much happening in gaming, though we do have like one or two. But just to quickly go through some light news. This is one I didn't know about until one of our listeners, Bad76, told me about this and pointed us to it. There's definitive editions of Mafia 2 and Mafia 3 on their way. Looks like the infamous Taiwanese digital game rating committee leaked ratings for a Mafia 2 Definitive Edition and a Mafia 3 Definitive Edition, which is a little interesting for Mafia 3 because it's already on the current consoles, and I believe the rating was for the current consoles for Mafia 3. So that seems kind of pointless, especially because there's already a deluxe edition that is often on sale on PSN and Xbox Live. So I don't really know exactly what that would be, and they're listed as separate titles, so it won't be like a Mafia bundle. But I know some people really enjoyed the Mafia games. Review-wise, I think they kind of like were above average, but nothing exceptional. I remember Mafia 3 got kind of panned for being boring, and then Mafia 2 was a little repetitive, or it just, if I'm not mistaken, it hit after one of the Grand Theft Auto 4, and it just kind of looked bare compared to that type of open world game.
I feel like the Mafia series like lives in a vacuum, to where when it's out and you're playing it, you're like, hey, this is really fun, this is really cool, and then you ask them to tell you something about it 7 days later and they can't.
Yes, it very much feels like that. Decent games. Like I still haven't finished Mafia 3. I started it when it was like a PS Plus game and never got around to getting more than a couple hours in. And then I remember, I believe Mafia 2 was the famous one where Nolan North voiced a lot of NPCs, and there's like a YouTube video where it's like 3 or 4 Nolan Norths talking to each other. So that's the only thing I remember from Mafia 2.
The only thing I remember is that you got that sweatshirt that's like technically a small, but it's actually big on you.
No. That's
the farming simulator one, right?
Yeah, the farming simulator one. I have like multiple weird sweaters from Focus Home Interactive from E3. But yeah, no, I do have a like large or extra large Mafia shirt that I often will wear in a stream because it's really comfortable.
So yeah, I mean, remastering stuff at the end of a console generation doesn't really sound like it's anything so super surprising. Like you didn't put it in the news story, but like similar to today, like we pretty much got confirmation that Saints Row the Third is getting remastered and coming out at the end of May. So like it just seems like this is the point where all these teams that we keep hearing about are probably working on next gen, and they're probably multiple years out, 18, 24, 36 months out from let alone announcement to release. And it's like, okay, like what can we do to help with the finances for the next 6 to 12 months? Like, oh, let's just make one of our older games look prettier.
Or in the case of the Switch, let's just make one of our old games run.
Yeah.
I was going to put the Saints Row news in there, but I just kind of, the way they've been handling the Saints Row franchise the last like 5 or so years, I just kind of don't care. Even if they announce a new one, I don't think I care.
I think that they really soured, like they did a disservice to this, and I don't play, or not that I don't play, I have not played and very much, if any, of the Saints Row games. I did play Agents of Mayhem because it ended up being something that I was covering, and on the surface Agents of Mayhem looked really cool, and then deep as you played into it, you're like, okay, this is very lacking. And with all of the little teases to the Saints Row universe in Agents of Mayhem, people were like, why didn't you just make this a Saints Row game? Like, why did you call this something different? Because you wanted to, but you wanted to give it a different name, but you still did all the Saints Row stuff in it?
Because it wasn't good enough to get a Saints Row name. And now when I think Saints Row, I'm just like, oh, okay, they're just... I feel like the Saints Row 4 has been re-released a bunch of times. I was surprised that Saints Row the Third wasn't remastered already. Like, I don't understand how it's taken this long to get it remastered. And I just don't care. And I think Agents of Mayhem, which I think is on sale for like $4 again, which is tempting to me for dumb reasons.
Don't do it.
No, I know, because then I'm gonna have to convince. I've already convinced. I'll talk about what I'm playing later, but I've already convinced friends to buy another co-op game. So I don't know.
Well, for the record, Agents of Mayhem,
it's not co-op.
It's not co-op.
It's not co-op. See, that's what they fucked up, because that game is made for co-op, but they decided to not make it co-op. So never mind. There's more reasons for me not to buy it.
It's a cooperative hero game that's not cooperative.
Yeah, no, fuck that. I'm not gonna buy it even for $4.
So,
All right.
but anyway, like don't be surprised, especially with like something we're going to talk about later, with more things being pushed farther away. I expect to see more of this in the next 6 to 8 months, especially with all the crazy stuff that's going on with COVID. If these projects of any way, shape, or form were even 30 or 35 or 40% done, you're going to see more of this stuff now.
Oh, for sure. Right now, especially as more studios had to like switch to, work from home studios, that is not an easy undertaking.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to see a ton of delays. And
I think we're going to see a large group of delays, like you had mentioned, but I also think we're going to see a large push of remasters or redoing or.
Oh yeah, if they can find like a small studio that can quickly turn around a remaster, we're definitely going to see more of those. Especially, we're already seeing them with the Switch. We're just getting a bunch of stuff from the previous generations on the Switch because then they don't have to worry about like 4K resolution or HDR. It's just like, hey, bare minimum port to the Switch, and Switch users will be pretty happy with that still. But next story, this one will also be a quick one. So E3 was delayed, as we know, or it was postponed.
I thought they canceled it.
I've heard so many different things around it, but either way, the ESA set E3 2021 dates for June 15th through the 17th. So we won't have to wonder if, they will just take the 2020 cancellation as like a way to back out of doing these shows. They are ready to tackle 2021, and they have a year and some change to get this shit right for E3 2021. The E3 next year, now that we have dates, now they have a timeline that they can work with, and they have to hit next year out of the park, or next year will be the last E3.
So they confirmed that this is at LA Convention Center?
I believe they have, unless something
it has
changes,
to be if they
which
dated it
definitely could. Yeah, I would assume so. But yeah, we'll see who shows up next year. New consoles would hopefully be out by then. Don't know in the current state of things if that'll be the case, but yeah, time to save up for E3 2021.
Yeah.
Buy your plane tickets now. They're really cheap.
All right. Steam continues to break concurrent records. I mean, not a shocker here that more and more people are going to play video games.
Mm-hmm. Their previous record, which they set like 2 or 3 weeks ago, was 20 million. They just hit 24.5 million concurrent users. So Steam is definitely getting a bigger demand for things right now. There's actually, last week we talked about how PlayStation Network is going to throttle downloads. Steam isn't going to throttle their downloads, but patches for game are not going to be done for games automatically that haven't been played that frequent or at all.
I think
so
that's
currently
good.
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's definitely good, because depending on how crazy your Steam library is, like if you do the Humble Bundle for COVID, you have 30 games right there, and if they're all downloading a patch, that could be a bandwidth killer. So what Steam is doing is whatever games you played super recent within like a couple days, those will patch up automatically without a delay. Anything else, they delay that patch by a couple days. So they'll still hit, but it's just going to be, if you decide to play a game you haven't played in a couple months, it's not going to be up to date potentially.
Which is fine. Which is fine. With the way that, like, especially with as many people that I feel like that I know that PC game that are so reliant on SSDs in their PC, they're really only keeping 6 games downloaded at the most anyways.
Yeah, I think currently I only keep 3 or 4 games that I care about on my SSD, and then the rest are on the external hard drive. And even then, I've gotten better at just not having games downloaded, because there's no point once I'm done with the game. I just clean my PS4 out of all the sports games.
And the PC wise is so much faster to download a game than it is in a console.
It is.
I'm just like, wow.
I know. And then when Sony announced that they were throttling PSN downloads, I was like, oh god,
Yeah.
this is going to be bad. But now I'm using rest mode when previously I wasn't really using rest mode.
Right. Now you're like planning your downloads versus like, hey, I want to play this game. I'll download it. It'll be ready to go after I get done making the sandwich. No.
Yep. Just that's one thing I hope Sony does or other companies would do is just release patches in the middle of the night for people that have their systems in rest mode or have their PC and
yeah, man.
sleep.
I don't know. Like, I hope that they can figure that out with next gen, both companies, because like. And again, playing Destiny as much as I do, Destiny gets a patch or a hotfix probably every 14 to 21 days on the regular, and Destiny's reset for me is at noon on the during the day. Their daily reset and their weekly reset is on Tuesday, and there always is like a patch to download. And if I'm not home, like we all know that I played this game. So I play this game enough that it should just download itself. Like, and it doesn't always seem to do it. Like. It's just so annoying. Like, and that could be for anything, by the way. Like I've seen MLB get a patch, but like it's really weird. Like MLB will get a patch, and then like I'll be playing another game, and it'll just say installed or it's ready to play, and I'm like, okay, I didn't even tell it to do that. Like, but then I had to like force it to grab Destiny's patch. It's so dumb.
It's really dumb, especially when. Sometimes I'll forget and I'll have a bunch of games in the queue to download, and then I'll forget if you play an online game, it will stop
dramatically slow them down. Yeah,
or outright stop them. If I'm not mistaken, Overwatch just straight up drops them or pauses them, and other games I've seen just put them to a crawl. So I hate when that happens. This is why I hate when I want to play a game and there's like a patch in the afternoon or evening. It's just like. Could they have set the servers to just patch
it? Like in like COD, like Modern Warfare seems like to love to patch itself at like 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. our time, and they're huge patches.
They're always huge, and then like that's definitely killed my day a couple times. Where I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna play Call of Duty, and it's like, no, you're not. And my go-to game is Overwatch, so it's like, okay, if I play Overwatch, I'm not downloading a Call of Duty patch because I can't do both at the same time.
Yeah, so I potentially expect this number to continue to climb. As more people are realizing and more things are happening of the month of April pretty much being gone. Not gone, but like not being a outdoor social thing. I think that you're going to see a little bit more people turn to figuring things out, whether they're buying consoles or seeing if they're upgrading their PC, even just small things of just getting their PC back out and making sure it runs, and they're just trying to do something to help them pass the time. I think you'll continue to see this climb, which again, like we talked about last week, I don't see why companies aren't taking advantage of this with really, really good sales on old games. I just don't get it.
So PSN is doing like a decent sale right now. Like they just started it. I think they're advertising like 600 games by the end of the month. And the sales haven't really blown me away, but there are some decent stuff on sale. I know Switch is doing their usual sales stuff that they always do. But yeah, I haven't seen anything crazy. The Steam Spring Sale should be soon.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen like retailers try to do things, but that involves like going there, and I don't want to do that.
No.
So I don't blame the retailers for trying to do what they're trying to do, but that's not essential enough for me. Sorry.
No, not at all. I'd rather pay the extra to get a digital copy at this point.
Right. And then something that we talked about that I think I said I didn't think so, and you said that you thought it would be, but Sony delays The Last of Us Part 2 and Iron Man VR indefinitely.
Yeah, this isn't surprising, or at least I don't think it is. But the official statement that PlayStation dropped on Twitter, I was really expecting to see a blog post, and I didn't find one. But the PlayStation statement is, SIE has made the difficult decision to delay the launch of The Last of Us Part 2 and Marvel's Iron Man VR until further notice. Logistically, the global crisis is preventing us from providing the launch experience our players deserve. So Naughty Dog also went a little further with their message of just how they wanted to have the best experience for everyone, and meaning delaying the game until such a time where we can solve the logistics issue was necessary.
How much do you think the possibility of spoilers played into this?
Like related to like how Final Fantasy VII is dealing with the issue of some people have the game and some people don't.
Not as much with that one because that one's a remake. So like, yes,
no, but like the same scenario of
Yeah,
like some people have physical copies and some people don't
right,
yet
or
and don't know
people-
when they'll get them.
yeah, or people don't buy digital and they don't want to accidentally come across a stream or YouTube. I don't really know how you accidentally do that, but and have it the experience ruined for them because they don't have access to it. Because like even like Amazon, like as myself as an Amazon Prime member, if I want to order a pair of jeans, like I'm not getting them till like April 25th now.
It's weird how Amazon's been prioritizing certain stuff over another. I have an Amazon story I'll talk about later that I was surprised worked out.
But I'm saying, like, if somebody, like, let's say somebody orders their stuff from Best Buy or from Amazon, and I mean, I think that, like, from a logistical standpoint, the manufacturing discs is what this is talking about.
I think so. It's the manufacturing of discs and also the certification process is probably kind of hard to do right now.
And the day one patch.
The day one patch. And also every state in the US is different in terms of what is shut down. Every country is different in what is shut down. So to try and do a global launch is really difficult right now, which is why Square, like last week or 2 weeks ago, were like, hey, we're sending copies out. If you get them, you get them. Download the game if you want to guarantee to get it. And don't be a dick and spoil things.
Right.
So I think it is purely a logistics thing. I think the spoiler thing is just kind of like a benefit, like a bonus.
What about the public reception and the optics, like we briefly talked about last week, about a quote-unquote virus?
I think that is also like a bonus of it in terms of they didn't want to deal with like the Waypoint or Polygon articles being like, Sony shouldn't have released this right now. And that probably wasn't bullet point number one. I think bullet point number one is
production
logistics.
of discs.
Yeah, like logistics.
Well, it's
and
production and selling.
Loss.
Production and selling of discs. I mean,
yes.
I feel like if your top 5 retailers, 3 of them are potentially closed, that's substantially harmful to your profits.
Exactly. And you might not be able to release in some countries, some states, and that is also very detrimental to your profits.
Although a midnight launch of like a car lineup at Best Buy might be kind of cool.
Maybe. Maybe.
Or at a GameStop, but they like pretty much had their business license revoked in every state.
Oh, I know some GameStops that are still open. You can go there, knock on the door like 3 times, they'll let you in. GameStop is at speakeasy level right now of business. I don't. This is gonna obviously. I think this works out for kind of everybody. Sony is trying to like protect their profits as much as possible. The Last of Us 2, there was reports of like how bad the crunch is, and there was like the story about how chaotic the development has been, especially towards the end or the finish line that was coming up. And in the middle of all that crunch they were doing, they had to convert to a work from home studio like every other game studios had to do. I wonder how hot
in a part of the country that is a top 10 hot zone too, by the way.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how hot The Last of Us 2 was going to hit print to disc. Would it have been the best game it could be under these circumstances? Now with a indefinite delay, which it scares me that it's an indefinite.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think
delay.
that the reason why they're saying indefinitely is because nobody really knows when this is going to end.
Yeah, like, everything could be fine in June, and then it's just like, hey, June 2nd, The Last of Us is available.
Right.
This at least gives them a little bit more time. I'm sure they already have a release date in their head of like, if everything goes perfect, we'll release it then. We're just not going to fucking announce it in case we have to delay it a fourth or fifth time. I'm sure now there is a new release date that Sony has internally, and the developers will work to polish the game even further. And hopefully we will get a better product for it. It just means we're going to have to wait a little bit. But they also have to worry about like, what is Ghost of Tsushima is August or July?
Yeah,
August. They have to worry about that. Do they move that? Do they do like what Disney did, where all their Marvel movies just took the release date of the Marvel movie behind it? So like Black Widow took the external spot, the externals took whatever studio or Captain Marvel spot or something like that. Do they just, take The Last of Us, put that in Ghost of Tsushima's date, and then move Ghost of Tsushima to like September or something? Because the longer they wait to release The Last of Us, the more it's just like, just fucking slap a PS5 sticker on it, right. Instead of doing the backwards compatibility thing.
Yeah, and I think that they're too far into developing it for PS4 to do that.
Which is why you'd probably want to release it as early as you can once the world goes back to its new normal.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and I think Iron Man, again, is another just getting it into people's hands. So, especially with it being a VR title, I would think that it being a VR title, like the digital base around that game would be much stronger than even a game like Last of Us in terms of like attach rate.
It has the potential to be a VR headset mover
because of the Iron Man on it. Yes.
Yes. So you would want to make sure stores are open so people can buy the VR headset.
Right.
Especially if it turns out good. If Sony's confident. This seems like a move that Sony is a little confident in the potential, not necessarily quality-wise, but sales-wise, that they're like, okay, we are also going to delay Iron Man, because they could have just released it digitally and been like, fuck it, here you go. We already know the ceiling for this, but they feel the ceiling's a little bit higher. Yeah, that it's like, okay, we need stores open.
So, yep, that is the heavy news week. So lots of heavy stuff in there. We were hoping that something else would kind of like, come to the surface today, but I mean, really the only thing that came up to the surface today was Saints Row. So, what we're playing and watching. So I will go first. My list is not very long. Most of you can either see me or saw me live get my ass handed to me in Zelda on a pretty regular basis. Still playing Breath of the Wild. I picked up the Pro Controller when we recorded last week?
No, I believe you were thinking about it because your Joy-Cons just kind of broke.
Yeah, and I have been able to get them. I didn't know that Joy-Cons could be recalibrated in the Switch, so I learned that. And two, I have been able to use that Q-tip trick a little bit on them to clean them up, but I'm not very happy with the quality of Joy-Cons in general.
They are known defective.
Yeah, so which doesn't super bother me because I do enjoy playing it in handheld mode, and this controller that I got for like $15 I really do like. So I'm pretty happy with that. And everybody's like, oh, it doesn't have rumble. I'm like, I don't care. Primarily it was Zelda. I'm working my way through the first Divine Beast, and I'm having a little bit of a struggle with the first boss. The biggest thing I'm having a problem with is that I always felt like the other Zelda games kind of had an uphill climb to where, like, as they were somewhat open world like, but they were linear based enough to where you could kind of go wherever you wanted, but you would also run into this like stopgap where if you didn't have this new ability or this new weapon, like you couldn't like get across. Like whenever Zelda games would give you like the hook shot, that would be like how you would cross over to the next area to go to the next dungeon. I haven't seen any of that in Breath of the Wild yet. And the problem is as an example, the first problem I have with the boss that I'm fighting right now that I haven't beat yet, is if he hits me, I lose like 3.5 hearts like automatically, and I only have 4. So I can use like materials or stuff I have like turnips or other things that I picked up, like mushrooms, like throughout as I've been playing, to eat those and consume those and fix my health, which you can go into the pause menu and do that, and you're not taking any damage while you're doing it. Like, that's fine. It's just one of those things where it's a little frustrating, where if you mess up like once, like, you're done. And I've definitely been out of a Zelda puzzle mindset, because I actually had to look something up, and after I got annoyed with a little bit, and I was like, really, like, I just didn't think about it that way. The tablet that Link has that gives you like the abilities, it's a really cool concept, but it's also a new concept, at least to me, with Zelda games. So it's not always like on the top of my mind of before, where you would use an item, you'd use the bow and arrow that you got to shoot something across the, like, at an unreachable plane, and that would unlock a door, or you'd use the hook shot, or you'd use the boomerang to hit like 3 or 4 things at once to open a door. This is like the ability that the tablet has. One of the abilities that you get really early on is like a magnet, and you can use the magnet to pull things out and around, or you have the ability to briefly stop time, or you have this ability to take water and turn it into ice just for a short amount of time. And it's the way that those are introduced to you, like, is really cool, and you always have them, and they don't use like magic or anything like that, which I like. But it's not like on the item wheel or the item screen. It's like in a sub menu, and I sometimes forget about it because it's not readily there. You have to you have to hold down L and then use the analog stick to pick the one, and then you can activate it by just tapping L. So it's fine, but it's just establishing a new routine for it. And before, when I was playing Zelda games, they would be like the primary thing that I was playing, and now this is kind of woven into my play, and it's just it's not always in the front of my mind right away to remember that I have that. A couple of people on stream have helped me. They're like, hey, think about your ice, and I'm like, oh yeah, my ice ability. So they've been really cool about that. And then there's this supposed to be this really cool cooking mechanic to where you can mix a bunch of other ingredients that you've gathered, and they can make stronger potions that you can use. I just haven't figured it out yet. But I am enjoying it. The only reason, that's really all I played, and the only reason that happened was, like I told Michael a little earlier, so I am back at work, but I'm pretty much working, 4 or 5 days a week, 7 a.m.s to like 4 p.m. So, which is great. I've got a good, consistent schedule. I'm working. I feel like I'm in a better scenario than the majority of people that I've interacted with. So I'm happy that I'm working. But it's also a little bit of a mental drain on me, is going constantly out and worrying about that. Although I'm only exposed to like 4 or 5 people at work, it's still out and about. And then one of the things that happened, which is probably like one of the worst case scenarios, is I got home from work on Friday and I was off until Monday. And I was like, cool. And I get home on Friday, and an hour after being home, apparently during construction in Michigan where I live, while they were deconstructing a bridge, they cut the main fiber line that provides internet to the county that we live in. And so from about 4:15 on Friday afternoon, we had no internet until it was back on by the time we woke up Saturday morning. So I guess in terms of a major line being cut, in terms of how fast they were able to figure that out with everything that's going on in the world right now, like, kudos to them. Like, very, nice job. However, I don't know if you put this question in there. I haven't scrolled down in the notes far enough, but somebody asked, like, what do you think we would do if we were quarantined in like 1980?
Yeah. I didn't put that in there, but might as well do it now. What do you think it would be like in
I don't
the
know,
1980s?
because also I know it was bad enough as it was, because I was like, oh, we'll watch a movie, and I'm like, oh wait, my Amazon Fire Stick just won't work.
You have Blu-rays, I hope, still.
I do. Actually, ironically enough, my son, over the last year and a half, has just collected a whole bunch of movies, essentially from those bins at Target and Walmart and Myers of $2 movie, $3 movie, and so we had a bunch. So I don't know what this would be like if it was in the late 80s or pre-internet time, if we had a pandemic. I think you would see, again, you'd see more video game playing, you'd see more board game playing. I think you would maybe see a little bit more outside activity within like your yard. But I have no idea because like I think
Cocaine and cassette tapes.
because I don't know, like we introduced Owen to headphones we introduced Owen to headphones again now over the last couple of days. We tried to introduce him to him a couple years ago and he wasn't about him, and now he seems to be about him, which is a great blessing in terms of
because they probably fit on him now.
yeah, I'm sure that helps a little bit, but that saved us a little bit because when he's on a phone or a tablet and he for whatever reason gets clingy, like he's the one that's not handling this quarantine very well. Like he's like, I want to go to the park. We're like, you can't, but it's closed. He's like, what do you mean it's closed? It's right there.
It's open. Why?
Outside's closed. Why? People get sick. Are they gonna die? I go, not if they stay inside. So he hasn't been handling it well. But anyway, needless to say, what started down the process of it was we were just literally, so we grabbed my PS4 out of my office and took it upstairs, and because we have like Rokus and Fire Sticks like all throughout the house upstairs, but none of those were working. So we grabbed my PlayStation, put it upstairs, and plugged it in, and I was like, oh, maybe I can just, because my primary PS4 is technically my son's PS4 and I'm his primary because we do that two PS4 thing. I had no access to any of my games.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that.
No access to any. I'm like, all right, well, we'll watch a movie. And what that proceeded to do was the movie we ended up watching was Fast and Furious 7. We like the Fast and Furious movies. Like they're entertaining, they're fun, they're fine to watch. And that proceeded to start the process of, after we watched that one, my wife's like, why don't we watch the first one? And then we watched the first one, and then so now we're in the process of watching these movies in release order. Not release order, in timeline order, where like Tokyo Drift takes place between 6 and 7, I think, or 5 and 6. I can't remember which one exactly.
Something like that.
Yeah. So we're kind of watching through, and then apparently on YouTube or even in the DVD extras, there's these little like 6 or 8 minute like short films that actually kind of bridge the gaps between the movies, like how Toretto ends up in, down in the Dominican Republic, and of why he's going, who he's going after with all this stuff. So but yeah, we're in the kind of, I think we're through 3 or 4 of them. I don't remember exactly where we're at, but that pretty much ended up being our entire Saturday. Not our entire Saturday, but we were watching a lot of that stuff. My daughter really likes those movies too, and it just annoys her because she's like, oh, that's the other movie's delayed till like 2022 now. I don't even know how far it's been delayed. So that is essentially what we've been playing, what I've been playing, and what we've been watching. So, because that's what it turned into over the weekend. So.
All right, for myself, not as many games as last time. I bought Lumines on a Switch because it was $7. That's my favorite like Vita PSP game, so pick that up for the Switch. It's just a basic match 'em puzzle game. Though my Switch has been primarily an Animal Crossing New Horizons machine. Me and Sarah are playing that every day, multiple times a day, several hours a session. It is kind of consuming my life, and thinking about it, it's probably going to be my game of the year because no other games are going to come out. So by default,
2020 game of the year before Easter. Done.
Yep, done, because there's nothing else coming out. I've been playing this way too much. I streamed a little bit of it a couple days ago, and it was just one of those things where it's like, if you want to watch me just do chores for 2 hours, it's basically all Animal Crossing is. And I've just hit this point where I'm min-maxing Animal Crossing, and it's beautiful. Just the amount of time I spent playing the game, because I have fucking stairs and bridges and house fees that I need to fund in this game.
Have you loaned any money to a raccoon?
I owe him right now 150,000 bells to make my house bigger, and I also owe him 168,000 to build a bridge, and then another 100,000 to build some stairs. So because of this, because I'm now further into debt with Tom Nook, I have been min-maxing. He basically is, but he's a really nice loan shark. Like he gives you this island. He gives you like interest-free loans and is like pay it back whenever you can. He's really nice actually. Uh I I fell down the rabbit hole of making Tarantula Island. So in the game, you can get a ticket to go to a random island, and you can then go to that island and then harvest whatever you need to it, like fruit, fish, bugs, and then bring them back to your island and then sell them for bells for money. I for a while heard people on Twitter being like, "Oh, you have to make Tarantula Island," and that's basically you go to a random island that happens to be flat, so like no hills or like valleys, no lakes in the middle. Though the lake thing is optional, and you basically remove all the trees, all the rocks, all the flowers, all the weeds. This then forces the game to only spawn bugs because the game needs to fill the island with something. And because you took everything out of the island, all it can do is spawn bugs. And tarantulas are the most expensive bug. If you capture them, you can sell them for like 8,000 bell a tarantula. And they'll spawn maybe like one every minute or so. And I spent the last 3 nights, probably like an hour or two each night, me doing it, and then Sarah would do it with her character, where we would clear an island individually, and then just chase all the other non tarantulas off the island to capture tarantulas, and then sell them back to Tom Nook for $8,000 a piece. I can only hold like 20 or 30 tarantulas, so I've been making bank doing this, and I'm just going to exploit this as much as I can. I was devastated to know that there is a villager that will randomly visit you, or a shopkeeper that will randomly visit your island named Flick, and he'll buy the bugs at like 1.5 times their going rate on your island. And this has like devastated me because I could have made so much more money. I could be a millionaire right now. But he has not visited me. And it's just pissing me off because people keep saying like, "Oh, you're gonna sell him to Flick," and it's just like I fucking don't know where Flick is. I've been looking for him. I've been loading up the game every morning to try and find him. Some people told me he shows up on Sundays, so I kept checking Sunday throughout the day. The only person who was there on Sunday was the turnip lady, and I don't want to get into the stock market because you buy turnips from her, and then the prices for turnips every day goes up and down, so you can like flip them for better profit or go someone else's island who's getting better rates.
Now this game has a real-time clock, right?
Yes. So the turnip lady is only there on Sundays, and she's only there in like the morning, afternoon. So if you miss that window, you can't see them. And then like tarantulas only spawn after 7 o'clock. They're from like 7 to 4 a.m.
Does it work like in offline mode as a real-time game?
Yeah, so that's how people have been time traveling. And like seen end game or quote unquote end game content is they'll just put their switch offline and then change the time, and then the game will pick whatever will be in whatever time they moved it to. I haven't done that yet. I probably would have done that if I wasn't in quarantine and had all the time in the world to play with this real clock. Because there's like no reason for me to like fast forward it. It's because it's like I ain't got shit to do. Right. I'll wait till tomorrow.
But yeah, I guess what I was saying is like if it's Sunday night at 8:30, like, and you turn Animal Crossings on, like it's Sunday night at 8:30, right?
Yes.
Like, and then if you open it on Tuesday afternoon at noon, it's Tuesday afternoon in the game.
Yeah, like your actual real time will be on the clock, or like on the screen. So it'll tell you like, oh, that's how I've been telling the time. Sadly, lately. Because it's hard to keep track of time, to be honest, in quarantine right now. So I turn on the quarantine like, oh, sir, did you know it's the 6th today? So I've been doing that. I did fall into a dark rabbit hole with this. I'm not really proud of it, but I justified it because of the quarantine. So random villagers will visit your island, and you can ask them to stay. But you can't pick what villagers randomly come to your island, of course, unless you have their amiibo or their amiibo card.
Oh god.
Okay, so the amiibo cards are where most of the villagers that Sarah wanted and I wanted, but But those cards were released when New Leaf and Pocket Camp originally released. So for New Leaf, it's like 6 years ago or something.
Are
They're
amiibos
hard
really
to
that
find.
old?
Yes. So they're really hard to find. I looked on Amazon and I'm just like, shit, a random pack. They're like baseball cards where it's like 5 cards in a pack or something. They're on the market right now because of Animal Crossing New Horizons. They're being fucking exploited for how much they are, especially because there's a finite amount of those cards.
Right.
So I couldn't justify buying like a blind pack of cards at $20 a pack, which is the going rate on
I'll
Amazon.
just buy them
eBay.
individually for $12.
No, so Sarah found a video and she's like, "Hey Michael, what's an NFC tag?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's just like they're just like it's like your credit card. You know how you can just tap your card or like your phone will pay stuff with NFC." She's like, "Oh, is that what's in or inside Amiibos?" And I'm like, "Yes." She's like, "Oh, look at this video. Can you do this?" And
Oh God, did she send
ripped...
you into a store?
No. So people have ripped all the Amiibo and Amiibo cards and put them online for you to download the data. And you can then put those on blank NFC cards that you can buy off Amazon. So I wouldn't necessarily say or endorse doing this, but we're in a fucking crisis right now. I cannot go to a store. When you want to buy a blind pack from Amazon, there will be a notice on Amazon being like, "This is not a priority item."
Well, I mean, it
sometime
sucks.
in May.
It sucks too that Nintendo kind of puts some cool stuff behind a paywall like that, and not only is it behind a paywall, it's behind a multiple-year-old paywall.
Exactly, which means it was already finite because of that.
It's almost like the conversation we have about digital games and physical games working and not being available. Almost,
but a little bit more nefarious in terms of like Nintendo put this feature in their game, supported it, but then re-released the cards. And I don't believe there's any intention for them to re-release the cards, let alone them able to re-release the cards in this current pandemic. So I bought a 10-pack of NFC tags.
If you're watching on the stream, he's like shamelessly holding these things up.
It's a little dog tag about the size of a quarter. Yeah, so I fucking ripped Amiibos onto this using like some people's data bank. And I'm only using them for like, it sucks because the Amiibo technology, basically it's encrypted to where I can't rewrite this tag. Usually tags are rewritable.
Not Nintendo tags.
But not Nintendo tags. So like,
so how much? Okay. So how much? All right, so you showed the little dog tag thing. How many did you get?
10 for $8.
Okay. And then the Amiibo data is pirated for free?
Yes. Which I'm ashamed of, but at the same time, I felt like I had no choice.
But I mean, even at the same time, if there's if there's a certain card that you want, this is like Nintendo's version of a loot box, though. There's not only is like it looks like the cards are blind, that even if you wanted to order them, you don't know how long it would be till you got them.
Yeah.
And then even if you decided to get up the guts to go to a retailer that sold them, they probably don't have a 6-year-old card.
No, not at all. I work in retail. I know they don't.
And it's still a random of you get a pack of 10 or whatever, and you probably get 5 or 6 of them that are the same ones you got in your previous pack of 10.
Yeah, and there's like 200 cards. So It's just like it financially it just wouldn't make sense, and tracking the cards down right now would be either super expensive or impossible. So I went down that rabbit hole. Holy shit, like people, like there's this database online, just like people that pirate video games. Like there's just people freaking in like put the Amiibo data online. It's just like I looked at it and I'm just like, oh my god, this is crazy. But then I saw how many Animal Crossing Amiibo cards there were. Just like, this is fucking insanity. Nintendo was making crazy money off these probably. But yeah, I had to go down that rabbit hole. I even bought sticker paper to put in a printer so I can like tell the difference between them, but I haven't gone that far yet, just because I don't have a printer. So, but I have the paper.
Oh
But
my
yeah, so
gosh.
I fell down the fucking like rabbit hole with amiibos or just Animal Crossing just to like make the Animal Crossing experience the best. I figure if people are time traveling to cheat at the game, I could get away with just like, and all it does is like I tap it to the Switch and then that character pops up and then I fucking need to still talk to that character to get them to stay on my island, and even that isn't a guarantee.
What kind of characters though?
Sarah wanted primarily cat characters.
Okay.
And then my little sister,
I love it. I love it
she,
how he's blaming Sarah.
oh no, like I love
But
projects like this.
but although
So
he is stuck in a box with her for the next couple of months.
what the thing is like I like projects like this. I was fascinated by like, okay, so people put this on the online, and then I need to get a specific app to
This
like
took
off
up an
GitHub.
hour and a half of Michael's morning, and now it's done.
The crazy thing is, I ordered it off Amazon on a Friday. That shit was here the next day. Like this apparently wasn't this was a
It was in their warehouse,
essential.
and they wanted it out.
Yeah,
it was
this
taking
was
up
essential,
space where
apparently.
wipes could be.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. So there was like 10 tags. Sarah wanted like 3 cat characters. I wanted like 1 cool dog. And then my little sister, she's trying to play the game where she only wants elderly characters in her village, which makes it even harder for her to make that happen. So then I was just like, okay, name 3 elderly characters and I'm gonna acquire them for you. I haven't told her how exactly.
Does this support like Mega Man being in the game, or Samus, or Luigi? Because those are all amiibos, right?
Yeah, so I don't think it supports them in terms of they'll drop in. There might be some costumes you can get from dropping in
Okay.
those amiibos, but those characters won't pop up in the game. It might be like other games where I think Splatoon 2 did that with costumes, and Smash Brothers does that
Right.
with some stuff. So it's each amiibo interacts differently, or like each game handles that differently. Animal Crossing's thing was, hey, these villagers, you can invite them if you have the amiibo card that we sold 6 years ago. So yeah, I feel ashamed about it.
That they have some form of technology that lasted 6 years for them.
They saw the NFC technology and were like, fuck it, this is good.
Yeah.
Let's roll with it. But yeah, no, it's actually really easy to do. I won't tell anyone how to do it. You can figure out how to do that. It's super easy. It's a YouTube video away. But it was a fun project to do, and I was just looking at it, just like, this is crazy. But I got nothing else to do. Okay, and then the last game I played is Strange Brigade. This is a 4-person co-op multiplayer game. It's kind of like a Left 4 Dead Light.
I played something. I played something else too. I forgot.
Okay.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah. And this is just a shooter, but it's under the dressing of like an old, like early Hollywood adventure game. So in terms of, you have like a movie narrator, and it's like really cheesy sounding with like the really dramatic music from the early filmmaking, and it's surprisingly fun. Like I picked it up when it first came out. I ended up like getting a code for it that helps another writer I knew do co-op for it. And I haven't had anyone to play with since then, but it was on PSN for $10. So I convinced my IRL friends, like, hey, we haven't really playing a lot of games together. Guys, pick this up. It's $10. It'll be worth it at $10. Picked it up, ended up enjoying it thoroughly. Like, we're about halfway through together. The shooting is a little like hollow and loose feeling, but there's a lot of things you can do, like the basic stuff like sensitivity tweaking, and you can unlock the frame rate and other things you can do in the settings, which I was like kind of impressed that they had like unlock frame rate and features like that, which is probably might be pro only, thinking about it. So once we configured it properly, we ended up having a really good time with it. Like the shooting is it's your general, like, here's waves of enemies coming at you as you go through this map, and each section of the map might have 1 or 2 puzzles in it that are better than I expected from a shooter, and a couple of the puzzles are really fun to do with other players in terms of it's like jungle themed. You're like going through ruins and like pyramids, and there's like deciphering hieroglyphics and figuring out puzzles. So there's times where uh, they really emphasize the co-op to where a door will have like 3 symbols on it, and you need to shoot each symbol in a sequence. But the key or the legend to know the code will be on like the other side of the map. So then you would have one of your co-op buddies go to the other side of the map and then just read off the symbols for you, so you can open the door. A lot of like maps like or puzzles like that, and it was kind of entertaining. I just wasn't expecting like the puzzles to actually be intriguing for a 4-player multiplayer game.
Mm-hmm.
So enjoying that. If it's still $10 by the time you guys listen to this, I would actually recommend it at $10. I know there's a season pass that's like $30. I think there's enough game in the regular game, but it's one of those things where halfway through it, me and my friends might end up picking up the season pass because we're having so much fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you're having fun with a group of buddies, like there's really not like a quote unquote price you can put on that. Like, hey, well, it's $30, but I mean, if you get more than 30 hours of time with your buddies out of it, it's $1 an hour, you know?
Yeah, and there's a ton of collectibles. And one of the people I'm playing with, he's a trophy whore. So he was already looking at the trophies, and he's just like, okay, so tomorrow we'll play and we'll grind out these trophies to where it's like, okay, so I'm gonna for $10, or I you know, or for at least for him and the other guys, they paid $10 for it, and they're gonna get potentially like dozens of hours out of it to try and get all the trophies, which weren't too bad. Did you have one more game that you play?
I played the Resident Evil demo.
Okay, tell me about this. I've been hearing it's not as good as the previous Resident Evil.
I
games.
played the 4v1. I didn't play the demo. I played the...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Resistance?
Yeah, I think that's right. Resident Evil Resistance. Predator's better.
Oh, okay.
So you have a couple of things in there. Like each character obviously has like a unique ability that they can do, which it's kind of not explained really well. But I played with my buddy Johnny. It was finally working. I don't even know, like Tuesday or Wednesday. I streamed it. So that it's on our past broadcast, and maybe we'll get it up to YouTube. But I know that I was having some issues with the frame rate and stuff, or with my bit rate with my internet, so I don't remember how good a quality it is. But it just seems like the mastermind, the guy that's like controlling the rooms,
the Jigsaw or whatever,
yeah, is very overpowered. We played against one. It wasn't working on PS4 and Steam over the weekend when it was supposed to, and then it ended up working later on in the week, and we got in there. Matchmaking times were a little long, and then they finally like shortened up. But it just like there was one encounter we ran into where this guy was, because you have the ability to like spawn to generate zombies, and to, you know, you have a special ability and you can set traps, and you can, you know, like and do all the other stuff while the 4 players are trying to do an objective, whether that's like find keys or like complete a puzzle to go into the next room. If you get damaged, you lose like 10 seconds every time you get damaged. If you kill something, you get like an extra like 30 seconds every time you kill something. So it's like a tug of war game with a time frame, and if you clear a room, you get an extra like 2 minutes. But there's like, again, like there's bullet scavenging problems, which, you know, is to be expected. There's a way to heal yourself. There's a way that, you know, working together in a group of 4 people is probably the most efficient way of having a core group of 4 and understanding each of the characters' abilities. But there was one scenario we ran into a guy where like we had a hard time getting past like the second sometimes we get into the 3rd room. We never like completed all however many rooms there are. Which didn't bother me, because it's always kind of like a challenge to like push forward, and the timer kind of like ticks against you, and it kind of builds a little bit of that stress, which is fine. Like those are all things that kind of have a little bit of stressful fun to them. But there was one thing where this guy just threw stuff at us, like one after another, after another, after another, after another, after another, after another. We didn't even get past the first door, not the first room. We didn't get past the first door.
Jesus, you suck.
Yeah. So it was just like where it was like, okay, you got to have some kind of cooldown here, or like a limitation to how much you can put out there. And then like the hit detection, like the shooting felt fine, but the hit detection of using your fist or using a bat, like it just felt off. Like it almost like the game needs some kind of targeting mechanism to it. But that there was a part of me that was like all the positive press around Resident Evil 2's remake, and then I was looking at Resident Evil 3 a little bit, and I was like, well, maybe the legs of this game will come from this multiplayer. No, not for me. Like playing that solidified that I'm like, I don't want to buy this. So, because for me, like the genre of Resident Evil isn't anything that appeals to me. I've played through and beat Resident Evil 6. I did it on co-op with a good friend of mine years ago, and that's really the only Resident Evil game that I really sunk my teeth into deeply. I reviewed Resident Evil years ago, and I really didn't like it. The tank style controls and things like that, I really didn't like it. But I didn't play the RE3 demo, the gameplay demo, but this multiplayer, like for me personally, multiplayer is where the legs of the game come from. Like the stories don't always draw me in. They can, but they're not always the thing that is like right on the top of my mind as much as I like just playing games and having fun with my friends and talking to them and going through and just hanging out and playing a video game. And was not fun for me.
Yeah.
Like even Predator had its problems, but I mean, if I look back on it, I still had some fun, and I don't really feel like getting my head smashed into a door, not 10 times, but 100 times.
Yeah. When they first announced that, I thought it sounded cool, but I figured it would be one of those modes where it would have the potential to be broken.
I just want somebody to do it right, and maybe it is Rainbow Six. With their
that eventually ever comes out.
Yeah, with the quarantine game, maybe it'll be them, because we know that they have the gameplay mechanic of shooting down.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, hopefully it'll be Rainbow Six. So.
Yeah. So the only other thing that I did this weekend was WrestleMania. Was a 2-part show this year.
Did an NFL player win a title?
Yes, Gronkowski won the 24/7 title.
What is the 24/7 title?
It's a title for all the jobbers.
By the way, for you audio listeners, I literally think I just made Michael's eyes roll in the back of his head twice.
So Rob Gronkowski was the host of WrestleMania. The 24/7 title is a title that can be won or defended and won anywhere at any time. So as long as you have a referee near you, you could win it in like an airport or something. It's kind of a comedy title. Like it's just used for jokes. Like they have funny ideas. They'll do it with the hardcore or the 24/7 title. So he won the 24/7 championship. So Gronkowski, I thought he was annoying before.
Oh, he's up there. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really up there, and him trying to be himself in front of no crowd is cringe.
He feeds off reaction. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and there's no one there. So it was just this dude bro who's super
So do you
annoying.
think that this Gronkowski doing this was planned before they knew they were going to do it in a studio?
Yeah, it was. They announced that he was hosting WrestleMania probably a couple weeks before this all went down. And also he's popped up before in WWE in the crowd and has actually interacted with wrestlers during previous WrestleMania. So they knew
he's built like a wrestler.
Yeah, but he just can't move like a wrestler, and he's annoying as shit. But yeah, so WrestleMania was like 2 nights in front of no crowd. It was pre-taped for the first time. It's always been live, but they didn't know how long they were going to be able to do shows, so they just can't put it in the can like a couple weeks ago. I previously talked about how some of these crowdless shows haven't been that great. This one was really good, just because they got to edit it. They got to probably reshoot a bunch of stuff if they had to, and in some instances, the matches were really good, and commentary was good along with it. Other matches, like the Randy Orton Edge match, had barely any commentary, so it was just a lot of heavy breathing and slap sounds.
I loved your tweet on Saturday or Sunday where you're like,
yeah.
my neighbors are thinking of watching 4.
I swear to God, like there was a couple matches to where the commentary barely talked, and all you hear is grunting and slapping and all sorts of sounds, and it's just like, fuck, I'm gonna turn my soundbar off. It was real bad for some instances, but overall it was fun.
Michael's neighbor gets him some chaps.
Yeah. Overall, it was a good show. Charlotte and Rhea Ripley probably had the best like actual match of the weekend, and then they did something called a boneyard match where they did a very cinematic segment where Undertaker and AJ Styles fought, and it was shot like a movie in a graveyard, though they called it a boneyard because graveyard probably doesn't have the best optics right now. So they shot it in a boneyard that had tombstones and graves, like stuff. So it was actually really cool because it's something WWE rarely does, is something like that. They actually took advantage of the fact that, like, okay, we can't put on a show in front of an audience. What's something unique we can do that'll grab people's attention? It was actually pretty good. It came across as like a low budget, sometimes cheesy action movie, like a final boss fight in an action movie, but it was really cool. And then Sunday night they did John Cena versus Bray Wyatt in a Firefly Funhouse match, which is hard to explain to Dave, who doesn't watch wrestling. So Bray Wyatt is a Mr. Rogers-like character who's also a demon, and he hosts a kid show, and John Cena fought him in this kid show, and they went on this weird acid trip for like 15 minutes where they went through John Cena's history as a wrestler and fought throughout his history until it finally ended. And it was super weird, super bizarre. There was like a puppet Vince McMahon doing commentary. It was fucking acid trip craziness, and I loved it. It was like the highlight of it. It's so weird. It's so hard to explain, but it was. I'm glad they did stuff like that because they needed to do something with their new location or their circumstance of no audience. So WrestleMania was pretty good. I recorded with the Too Young to Be This Old Crew a prediction show, and we actually might do a reaction show for WrestleMania later this week. So keep an eye out for that. And then other than that, I've just been watching Nailed It season 4, which is the baking show where they put people in impossible time challenges and people that also have no real baking experience. So I've been watching that because the new season dropped. But that's it for me.
All right. We're going to move on to our community with the questions. You can use hashtag AskDigitalDays on Twitter, or you can just post it on Facebook, right on our Facebook page, where if you're there, if you could just give it a like we mentioned earlier, or you can post it in the group. Sometimes Michael puts a thread up. There is also a thread at the very top of the group. It's under the announcement sections where you can leave your questions. So Chip writes, I think this was on Facebook. He goes, I read an article on Comic Book that casts some big time doubt on the PS5 hardware, especially overheating. Have you seen anything about this, or is it just haters hating?
Okay, so there's two facets to this, because I don't know if Dave is familiar with this article.
Bits and pieces, but not the details. Yeah.
So the first bit, comicbook.com is a site that will post literally fucking anything. Like, it doesn't matter if the rumor or story has any source with it, they will post it. They do some good work. There are some good writers at Comic Book, but they kind of thrive in the clickbait area. And the source for this one is a writer from a Windows Central. So Windows Central writer. So that's a Microsoft-focused outlet. And why he does have some connections to the industry, I dug into his account a little bit just because he started to attack Jason Schreier from Kotaku, and you don't fuck with that guy because he immediately just pulled up all of this writer's from Windows Central's previous tweets that showed that this guy's a fanboy. Because this guy kind of started to attack Jason Schreier of like, oh, Jason Schreier doesn't know what he's talking about or doesn't have sources, that type of shit. Which is like, no, Jason Schreier is like really connected. So Jason Schreier basically in a thread going back and forth with the guy kind of just eviscerated him in terms of just hitting him with like, oh, where's your source for this? Look at this hot take that you had. Look at this tweet you had, and just kind of just started to like throw the guy's tweets back in his face to be like, hey, you might be a fanboy, because people often accuse Jason Schreier of being like a PlayStation fanboy. So he bumped heads with the guy that this comic book article's tweet is based around. So PlayStation 5 could be in trouble. Maybe there could be some issues with the PlayStation 5 in terms of it being like a little underpowered compared to the Xbox Series X. But I've been hearing from like more reputable sources, like news outlets, saying that like developers are excited with the technology that the PlayStation has. So I would probably say we just all need to wait and see what's going to happen, because it's going to just come down to the library at the end of the day. Dave, any feelings? I know I just dropped a bunch of info.
I think that they've learned their lessons enough from the red lights, red rings of death and red lights of death, that if there's any chance that there's any overheating in these consoles, like, it will be fixed. So I'm not concerned about that. We're at the point where we're in the argument again of like, oh, my system is circular and yours is square, so mine's going to run better. Like, I've said this 100 times, like, show me the software and we'll be fine. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. We're going to see. And even if PlayStation's underpowered, which for all intents and purposes, it's slightly underpowered compared to the Xbox, it's going to end up coming down to software in terms of like, will the exclusives hit in terms of that. And I honestly don't think Sony and Microsoft care about who's 1 and 2. They just care about selling consoles. And if they happen to be the best-selling console, that's a win for them.
I mean, but I've heard this like, oh, my system has more teraflops and my system is stronger than your system from Microsoft this whole generation. But they don't put something out that looks like God of War, and they don't put something out that looks like and plays like Spider-Man or Horizon or, any of those things. Like, yes, they have their core franchises, but none of those franchises are doing anything innovative or moving forward in terms of the development. I mean, essentially, God of War was like one clip. It didn't have like a ton of loading screens. Like, it did have loading screens, but most of it was like one cohesive scene in terms, and that was a huge focus if you ever watched into those documentaries or any of that other stuff. Like, that was a big thing that Corey wanted to do, and in order for him to do it, he was able to do it because of the PlayStation's hardware and their ability to work with him on it. Will Microsoft have their studios to that level soon? Like, maybe, but I firmly believe that I don't care what tools you give somebody or what paint you give an artist. They can, if they know what they're doing, they have enough time to work with it, they'll make a beautiful looking piece of art. And yes. Sony's owns these studios. They've owned these studios for years. And if you think that Sony Santa Monica or Sony San Diego or Naughty Dog or Sony Bend hasn't been tinkering and jacking with PS5's hardware for the last 3 to 4 years, you're dumb. I'm sorry. Yeah. Like, they've been messing with this car for a long time to where when they actually get to drive the car, they're going to know exactly what they're doing and how fast they can go around a corner.
Yeah.
Just because your car can go around a corner at 100 miles an hour doesn't mean the person driving it knows how to turn it at the right time.
Mm-hmm. I would say, like, specifically with like all the news stories we're going to get right now, we haven't seen anything from these systems yet. So it's hard to take like someone on Reddit or tweeting as like credible until we actually see stuff in motion.
I want to see in the next 60 days a next gen exclusive piece of software. I don't want to see something that can run on PS4 and PS5 or Xbox One X and Series X. I want to see something that only is running, and I guess at this point in time, Microsoft's already said it's not happening. I want Sony to say PS5. That's it. And this is what it looks like.
Yeah,
and that needs to happen in the next 60 days.
Yeah, because then that would put us...
Maybe I'll give them 90 days because of COVID or something. But I mean, I just, like, it's getting, like, by the 4th of July, maybe? I mean, even, like, I want it by Memorial Day, but I'm also realizing what's going on in the world right now. But there needs to be something of...
Yeah, I would feel like the end of May, early June is the earliest/latest I want to see something from Sony.
Other than that, I'm tired of talking about how many fans that your system's going to need to not sound like a jet engine. Like, I have really good headphones on right now. If my wife is sitting next to me, I could not hear her talk to me, which is part of the reason why I wear my headphones. But like, people come in this room and they scare me because I don't know that they're next to me because of the audio advancings. That these are Logitech headphones. I have other headphones that are great, but I don't care if my system sounds like a jet engine or if it sounds like it's going to be like a refrigerator that's running away, if I can tune it out or get used to hearing it. I care if I'm having fun playing it and if there's something on there that makes me want to buy it. And I'm still standing by the statement that I said last week or 2 weeks ago that right now I don't have any desire to spend $500 or $600 on a next-gen system because nobody has showed me why I need to spend $500 or $600.
Yeah, it's going to come down to which companies, because right now I would probably say I'm on the fence of which system I would buy day one if they released at the same time. And I just need to see the content, and I need to see the content running on the system.
I can go buy an Xbox One X for like $300 right now.
Yeah, and you'll be happy.
And I'll be fine for the next at least 24 months, it sounds like.
Something like that. Might be a little bit extended because of the current circumstances we live in.
Yeah. But I can also play almost any game that comes on the Xbox One. I can play any game that they release on my PC.
True.
So, Sony and like I said, I will just if a push comes to shove this fall, and they're not showing me anything this fall, this winter 2021 or whatever these consoles do or don't come out, like I will put that money into upgrading my PC into a better graphics card.
Yeah, and you'd probably be better off in the long run making that decision and going that route. Because right now, it's more than ever, it's always a luxury item. But like right now, until they prove a reason for you to own them, it's like a extra tier luxury item of just like, I already have something or multiple things that can play these games well enough.
I mean, I don't need something to run at 140 frames. Like, I don't even ever think I've seen that yet.
Yeah, you don't care about 120 when the most you can see is 60.
So, all right. Penwell writes on Twitter, he asks us, do you think Final Fantasy VII Remake has met expectations? What do you think the future of Square Enix looks like? I know that reviews hit for that today, but it's
currently sitting at an 87 on Metacritic with 71 reviews. So,
okay. Do I think it hit? I can't answer that question of it meeting expectations until more people play it that have much more emotional investments into the original game. Like, I've got a couple friends on my friends list that have been counting down on my Facebook friends list that have been counting down the days for this to come out, and with their lives and things like that they have going on, I probably won't really get their full impressions on it for a couple more weeks. Because the game probably about 2 more weeks, at least until after the game officially launches and it comes out. What do I think the future of Square Enix looks like? A lot of that,
Final Fantasy VII.
I think a lot of that's going to depend on how Avengers does.
Yeah, and when it comes to like Square Enix proper, their future is Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2.
Right.
Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3.
I mean, right off the bat, for you to get some of the games media to consistently give you enough stuff on Metacritic to have something in the high 80s on the day that your reviews go live, I think that's a win.
Yeah, I think critically, it's probably a win. I might pick it up this week. I still don't know yet.
I'm on the fence too. So because like I
Yeah.
enjoyed the demo, but I think it would take away from me playing other things. So.
Yeah. I critically, it definitely seems to be a hit, and this, depending on how well it sells, which spoiler alert, it'll probably sell well even despite the shipping and retail business being up in the air, probably will do pretty well. They're committed. Square Enix is committed to, you know, another one of these, at least one, maybe two. I don't know exactly how. It's been a long time since I've gone through Final Fantasy VII, probably like 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
So they're committed to this, at least we know that. So this will probably be Square's main title the next like 3 years, 4 years. And depending on how that all goes, we'll probably get Final Fantasy 8 or 9 remade like this, which probably won't take as long, but maybe that's the route they go. I don't know if there's that much fanfare for 8 or 9. They probably will just go straight to 10, potentially, especially by the time we're talking 4 years down the road. We'll be on new consoles. We'll be away from like whatever baseline remakes they already made or like ports they made for these games. And then Square, it's like the next Kingdom Hearts game. And then Avengers with their Western studios. It'll probably be a lot of Marvel stuff.
Right.
The Marvel stuff is going to keep coming. It's like they have what, Avengers, and then there's still that rumor that they're making a Guardians of the Galaxy game, which we probably won't hear until the next Guardians movie in 2022 comes out. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of Final Fantasy and Marvel stuff for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to playing it when I eventually do play it, though.
Yeah.
Both Final Fantasy and Avengers.
Yeah,
though
for
Avengers, it's more of curiosity than like
desire.
expecting to enjoy it.
All right, Darren on Facebook writes, have you rediscovered anything in these strange times? I've started to build the kids a den in garden that I was supposed to build for my 22-year-old when he was little. He's now having a baby, so his daughter will be able to use it. And my other 4 boys, I've always been so busy with my business, but this is the first time I've had any downtime for a long time. Playing football with the kids in the garden, and they love it. Even though that these are bad times, some good will come out of it. So what have you all rediscovered? It's soccer, for as we call it. So I don't know. I don't know what a den in a garden is. Maybe it's some kind of play structure. Maybe.
Yeah, like a clubhouse is how I thought about it.
Yeah. We've been working on the house a little bit, but in terms of rediscovering anything, not yet. Partially because like I'm still working, like I'm still going to work I'm getting up in the morning and going to work, and I'm gone, 8 to 7 to 8 hours a day. My wife has gotten kind of gone back into a little bit more reading. She does love to read, and she's been able to do that a little bit more. But a quarantined 4-year-old, not the best scenario. In terms of he was also very social. Like even when he would go to the babysitter, he had a friend at the babysitter's, so that they haven't seen each other. He would see his grandparents a lot. And he hasn't seen them, so he's not handling all that stuff really well. So he does acquire a lot of our attention. But like even in previously watching and stuff like that, like I mentioned last week, my wife and I are like halfway through season 3 of Boy Meets World again. Like that we've kind of just gone back and that show's kind of just on while we're putzing on our phone or talking or eating dinner or something like that. So that's the quote. If I've rediscovered anything, that's what it is. I do enjoy finding some of these. I haven't had a chance to really dig in and watch them, but a lot of this stuff that ESPN's putting out, like a lot of the classic games, and they're just trying to put up some form of content, and it is, relatively entertaining for me. Like I'm really looking forward to the Bulls documentary that they just pushed forward to like April 19th now. It's supposed to come out in the middle of June, and now it's going to come out like in like 2 weeks. So like that'll be really cool in terms of just looking. It's kind of a cool time to look back. It's lasting a lot longer than I would have ever have wanted it to last, but with sports being on a little bit of a hiatus, similar to how they are like a little bit after Christmas, like going into New Year's, where like ESPN used to do like their year in review and the top 10 greatest games of 2019 or whatever. Those are some of the things that I would love to watch, that I would really enjoy watching. And like even my local sports radio station's been broadcasting some of the previous, some of the classic Tiger games, like when they went to the World Series. And even though you know what's going to happen when you're listening to the broadcast, when you get into your car and you're catching it at the right time, and like you're literally, what's coming, and it still kind of sends like chills up and down you, because it's just you remembering or hearing it happen again. It almost feels like it's live, even though it's not. My son the other day ran an errand for us, and he was coming home, and they were there was a pitcher on the Tigers that literally threw a perfect game, but the umpire blew a call at first base, like really bad, blew the call, and he was in the car and he was listening, and I'm like, why are you going through that English again? Like, you know exactly what's going to happen. He's like, it's still kind of cool. Like, so like that's the part for me, I guess.
I haven't really rediscovered anything. I've just confirmed and solidified the fact that I hate my job and most of my coworkers. This is great. Like, not like the horrible stuff, but like just being home all the time. Just like, I feel like I was this close to where like I needed to take a break from work. So I think this is gonna keep me from burning out a little bit. Like hold out me burning out completely at work. Mm-hmm. And I've just kind of been, making the best of the current situation. It's just kind of solidified the fact that like I'm, an introvert and pretty content just being in my apartment with Sarah and the 2 cats and just entertaining ourselves.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've just been watching like old wrestling and going down YouTube rabbit holes, and there's a couple controllers that are kind of broken, like for my Switch and my PlayStation, that I'm just going to probably take apart tomorrow to sit at the kitchen table with my tools and then either cobble together a Frankenstein or fix them, keep them intact.
That's something you should stream. That'd be interesting.
Oh God, no, yeah, because it'll just be opening up a DualShock and being like, "Fuck, don't want to do this anymore," and then I just stop. I spent Saturday just framing photos, and I'm probably going to rearrange my office like picture setup because I have a bunch of stuff that I need to hang up. So I'm in an apartment though, so like I wish there was more home improvement projects for me to do. Like my previous apartment was pretty old and beat up, and the landlord gave us basically like free range of like, if it's broken, fix it and I'll reimburse you off the rent. The apartment I'm currently in now is relatively new, like recently remodeled, so there's no projects for me to do. So I'm just looking at electronics that need to be fixed, and I've just been messing around with that stuff and then going through old video games. So I've been making I feel like I'm still not using this time fully though. Like in terms of my extra time, in terms of utilizing everything. I mean, I'm streaming when I can and then loading out YouTube. Dave's failing at Zelda. That's on YouTube now. So I've been, doing that, trying to better, Digital Days gaming when I can, in whatever way I can. So just doing that, and even then, I know I'm like, I could probably, put a little bit more effort into things and see what happens. But at the same time, when it comes to like Digital Days gaming, in terms of like, I'm going to email this PR person. I have no idea if they're working right now. Like I have no idea some of the situations people are in. So I'm just trying not to overdo it that much.
We got an email for a game where they're like, if you want to cover this game in any way, shape, or form, we'd be down for it. Like, we understand. I was like, they just want any kind of coverage. So
which like I might just start going crazy with indie games.
Yeah.
Again, and just like, hey, I need something to do. If it's on PS4 is like really the only thing I can stream from, except on the weekends when the computer is not in use. I can then hook up my Switch. Because I re-hooked up my Switch to my computer and hoping to play some other PC games. So I'm hoping after this I can better myself in terms of like time management, and then hopefully grow Digital Days gaming through my extra free time.
Yeah.
Like I'm dreading my work's return date. just because it's like I don't want to go back for multiple reasons in terms of like it might not be safe by the time they say come back to work. But yeah, it is what it is. Um, Hoping to just better myself during this time and my extra free time or forced free time.
Yeah, forced free time. All right, those are our questions. I know Michael's got a spotlight. I've just got a brief thing, being a Tigers fan as I am. And I don't know if you know who he is, but I think you do because of as much as you pay attention to baseball. But Al Kaline died today.
Yeah, I saw that today.
So I just kind of wanted to spotlight, like, he was, my memories of Al Kaline. For those of you, he's been a Tigers player. He won a World Series with the Tigers in '68. He won like 10 Gold Gloves and like 15 All-Star games, and he was considered to be one of the best like all-around players, like five-tool players that like baseball's ever seen. He didn't have any like amazing records or anything like that, but in terms of other baseball players, he was right up there. My memories of Al Kaline was he did a lot of color commentary for the Tigers growing up as a kid. Broadcast
for
a lot.
A long time.
Yeah, he broadcasted a lot of Tiger games. Him and like Ernie Harwell, and so like in terms of just seeing that today, and if it was COVID, like that's gonna suck even more. But he was also 85 years old, so. Mm-hmm. I hope there's a part of me that hopes that it wasn't COVID, because like the famous kicker, NFL kicker, passed away the other day, Dempsey, from COVID. But for me, like, that's part of the reason I'm wearing the Tigers hat today while we're recording. Like, just, like Al Kaline was Mr. Tiger, and him passing away, like, it doesn't, I didn't get to, like, I never got to see him play, so it doesn't have any like direct emotional impact on me. But it was kind of one of those things where when I was notified of it, I'm like, oh, that sucks. Like, because I knew him as I grew up with him as a broadcaster. I didn't know him or anything like that, but he definitely, his voice, like you could sit there and play his voice and I could tell you who he is right away. So he definitely was part of my love of baseball, especially growing up as a kid. So I didn't want to do my spotlight after yours because I wanted to somewhat positivity with you.
Well, here's a transition. Anime.
Yeah.
High Score Girl is an anime that I adore. It's on Netflix, and it's on Netflix this Thursday, so it'll be out by the time most people download this podcast. It is an anime about growing up in Japan during the arcade scene. So it uses a lot of footage from Street Fighter, Virtual Fighter, Tekken. I believe Tekken. It's really cute, really adorable. It's like a slice of life anime. It's a romance story, if you believe it or not. And it's really good. I recommend watching season 1 if you haven't. And then season 2 is this week. And I'm so happy. This is one of the animes that I constantly, every week, probably since season 1 ended last year, have checked of like, when is season 2 happening? When is season 2 happening? And technically the Japanese or the original season 2 aired in like October, but I really like the dub. So I've been waiting for this and avoiding spoilers at all costs. So I'm just happy it's out, and I think everyone should check that out. You can take it away, Dave.
All right. So that is the show for this week. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. A lot of you guys were in the chat. Maybe not as chatty as I'd love you to be, but you guys were here. So we appreciate that. And you can follow us on all the social networks that we mentioned before. Twitter at Digital Days Pod. Facebook, just search Digital Days Gaming. You can like the page, join the group. Discord, there is a Discord link in the show notes. Whether on digitaldaysgaming.com or on your podcast service of choice. And again, just share the show. We know a lot of you guys are at home, so maybe you're not listening as much as you used to, or maybe you're caught up. Thank you. Welcome to current time. But just sharing the show is always appreciated, whether it's through a tweet or through a Facebook post or just telling somebody, in conversation about what you're doing, maybe show it on Zoom or something. I don't know. Join the Discord for the conversations, join the Facebook group for the conversations. And then if you feel so inclined, you can go to patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming, where we have multiple tiers of support. The $1 tier essentially pays for a month of us publishing the podcast to you. The $3 tier gets you access to our Discord channel. There's a private channel within our Discord server that you can hang out in. And then the $5 tier gets you 24-hour early access to the podcast. So if you want the podcast a little earlier, you can get it on Wednesdays instead of Thursdays. Again, like I mentioned last week, please do not feel obligated to support us on Patreon. It is just another way for you guys to show support. Many of you have given us support through Twitch subs, whether it's through Amazon Prime or subbing directly. And a lot of you are just giving us support through downloading the show, and we appreciate that, and following us on the social networks. Growing YouTube is a priority as well. Michael, like I mentioned a couple times this week already, has done a great job of adding stuff to the YouTube channel. So please go there and leave a subscription. Maybe, if there's a couple videos you like there, give them some thumbs up so that we start showing up on some other algorithms and other people can discover our content, because YouTube has a really good discoverability algorithm. And then again, if we're streaming, just pop in, even if it's only for a couple minutes, say hi, ask everybody how it's going. Michael's good at conversating about what's going on in the world of I love to, not that I love to hear about it, but I enjoy hearing about how you guys are handling your quarantine and what's going on. While I was streaming Zelda, a couple guys popped in, like I know Curry Masters in Canada. He was kind of explaining how Canada's handling the quarantine, which is interesting because he's really only like 4 hours away from me. So how closely we are compared to how different things are handled. And then Husan is down. I always mess up where he's at, but he's kind of more in like Central America. So he's kind of talking about, or no, he's probably not even in Central America. I can't remember. He might be Middle East. They're close, sort of, but
no,
I know, I'm just kidding. Trying to save myself, but no, just talking to you guys and interacting with you and hearing about how you guys are doing things and what you're doing with your kids or doing with your significant others, or just in general of how you guys are handling the quarantine. That makes us, when we stream, conversating with you makes it worth streaming. Sure, you can stream and put it on in the background and just have it as background music, but just let us know you're there. Like, hey, just checking you out, just putting you on while I work, so that we know, that there's, we're providing a service for somebody. So, that's always important to everybody, just for us to be there to provide you guys content. That's why it's very important to Michael and I that no matter what's going on in the world, what's going on in our everyday lives, we try not to miss our weekly content for you guys. Because before, my commute was much dramatically shorter than it is now. I relied on content. I would always get excited when the shows that I listened to would update their, or if it would update their show, and if it wasn't like on the time frame that it was supposed to be on, I would kind of look into their social media to figure out what was going on. So if we, it's important to us to be there for you guys, because based on what you were telling us, it's important for us to be there for you, and we appreciate you. All right, you got anything else, Michael?
No. Just gonna continue to be on Twitch, so definitely pop in the chat, give us a follow, and I'll be streaming whenever I can in the morning and afternoon. Dave will time at night.
Yeah. All right, guys. I hope everyone has a great week. Keep moving forward. We'll talk to you later.
See ya.
All right. Stopping that Audacity. All right, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out in the stream. We will talk to you guys later. Bye.
See ya.